Beautiful, sunny, balmy, 33-degree morning in coming out of Scottville, heading into Ludington.
Yeah, yeah, he's lying at this point about this.
It is
Yeah,
sunny though. It's beautiful. It's completely clear. I will
I
tell you that.
I know, looking for that what high of 61 today, but we were in the
Yeah.
20s and 30s overnight. That's the crazy part. Fall is, and looking at the future forecast, it definitely is fall setting in
Fall
for
is
the
coming. Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's here. It looks like
yep,
it's here.
yep,
I
yep.
got to put the boat away.
Yep, that's right. Absolutely. Well, and was talking with Dan from you in motorsports exactly about that over the last 24 hours. So
Yeah.
we're going to be chatting about that. But let's dive into today's subject. If you're just joining us here on Mom FM and Hot Country Hits 99.9, we're talking with Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance. And this morning we're talking. It's kind of focused on the a single area, but two separate tracks. One being strong leadership in small business, and then obviously business insurance.
Hmm.
And one of the statistics that Heather from your team sent over was that over what 900,000 businesses here in the state of Michigan make up about 99% of all of the businesses in the state of Michigan. And so small businesses are crucial to the lifeblood of all of our communities that we live in, that we shop and work in as well, right?
Yeah, and what we say in the rural counties is that about half the people work for small businesses, or they work for themselves. So just in that space, in terms of the makeup of people that we know, that's half the community members, I would say, in our county. The rural counties don't have quite as much of the manufacturing and the distribution type of companies that perhaps a bigger city would have.
Mhm.
So we actually, I would say, per capita, I don't know the statistic, but I would say we actually have more people working for small business
Yeah.
than we have working for large companies in Mason, Oceana, Manistee, Lake County.
I believe it. Well, and there was just an announcement the other day that a business here in Michigan, I think they were recently purchased by a Canadian outfit, 2,000 employees in the state of Michigan, and they're knocking out 400 of them through the next 6 months. And it's like, well, when you look at small businesses that have maybe, 5, 10, 15, 20 employees, there is kind of a family atmosphere. There's a stronger connection, I guess, in the sense, but it also is sort of the idea that you work harder, you commit more, you're devoted to that small business, and that's where that small business owner can help with insurance, more benefits, what you guys do there at Erin Doan State Farm Insurance. And I hope you still do it because it's exciting to see it on socials when it's National Pizza Day and
Hmm.
or something happens and you're treating the office to just great camaraderie.
Yeah, we enjoy to really do that. I think that's one of the things that I probably enjoy the most is, it's people, right? So businesses, small businesses especially, having good people, having people that you just take care of. I think great leadership is about understanding where they're coming from and helping them in their world.
Mhm.
Obviously, especially at work, and clearing paths of challenges that they have at work, but also supporting them when they're outside of work, what's going on. And one of our illustrious team members, Joshua Lehman, is they're about to have a baby. Let me just put it that way. They're in
Yeah.
the hospital, and we're supporting them. And I love it that we're able to do that as a small business. But we have a nice paternity leave for him, and so we haven't heard about a baby yet. But
Mhm.
the Laymans are about to have a baby here real soon, so we're
Very
excited
cool.
about that.
Oh, congratulations to them, and
Yeah.
maybe they'll join you when he's back at work. Bring his family in,
Yeah,
and we
we'll
can
get them
cheer.
on camera, make them
That
make them famous.
that'd be fun. Let's talk about strong leadership when it comes to business, and just kind of build the foundation for us, if you don't mind, and what makes up a strong leadership as well.
Yeah, I think in terms of being a leader, you have to set the tone and clarity about, who are we as an organization and what do we stand for? So having clarity and continuing to recast the vision, I believe, is really important. So when we talk about the mission of State Farm and my agency, our job is to really to help people protect from things that are unexpected, and
Mhm.
then help them recover when the unexpected happens. And so from there, then help them realize their dreams through our financial services. So I mean, that's our mission. And
Mhm.
our vision, which really has nothing to do with insurance in our industry and in our world, is, we want to make a difference in each and every contact we have with people that come in contact with us each and every day. So basically, what that means in our vision, and that this is something I need as a leader of the agency to be clear about, is to, make that help that person have a little bit better day from interacting with us, whether that's email, text, walk in, call in, whatever that may be. I'm really encouraging and role playing with my staff about helping that be a good experience for everybody we come in contact. It's a challenging thing, right? We're dealing with people's money. We're trying to protect their livelihood, their future from, devastating catastrophic things. So in that space, and it's complicated, right? We're trying to make it as easy as we can. But I think as a leader with my team and as a small business owner, we have to set the tone and we have to serve. I think that one of the things that I've learned early in my career, especially as an owner, is to be a servant leader, like literally serve my staff, clear the path, actually at times help them do some things that they need to get done. If they're bogged down and just can't do a really good job for our customers, is I need to jump in and serve and take care of them. And I think that's super important.
Well, because there's a balance between kind of giving them the reins to do what they want to be able to accomplish and successfully bring to the company. That's the basis behind somebody presenting a resume in that
Hmm.
interview and saying,
Hmm.
this is what I can do for you." And then also from the other side, from your standpoint, being able to be able to trust them and understand that they want to be able to do that. One of the we had put up a job application for staff member for here and as well in the Ludington area too. And one of the qualities that we put in there was somebody that wanted to help propel the company forward. Sometimes you have employees that will work to just get the job done, but then there's the other side of it where it is wants to accomplish and see goals and see the company overall improve. And so there's some leadership that comes out of that as much as that guidance that you bring to the table to help lead them. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think you're right on target, Chris. I think that, when you're looking at teams and with a small business, you're relying on those teams to pull in this in the same direction and to look for opportunities for excellence. As a person of faith, I believe like my biggest, strongest thing is I need to whatever I do, I need to do unto the Lord. Like really
Mm.
work hard in what I do. I feel like that's the highest standard really for me as a leader is to work on that level of just making as opposed to trying to make everybody happy is if I'm really working hard and efficiently for the team and for God, then that a lot of things are going to work their way out because that's a high standard to do. And I think as you were talking too, I think about the team as if everybody is striving for excellence and you have really good people on your team, it's going to make a difference. And I remember there was the book, I forget the author, but the book was Going from Good to Great. And they talk about, well, who's on your bus, right? This is a really great business book if you haven't read it. And going from good to great. And it talks about like, who do you want on your bus? Do they have the attributes and the skills and the passion, the integrity? Do they have the ethics and the values that match your team and you as a leader? If you have somebody that's like that, and they are in tune with you. They don't have to be just like you. They can be different backgrounds, different, face and races and everything like that. But I think just having people that want excellence on the team, those are the people you want on your bus for
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you're just talking, if you're just tuning in, we're talking with Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance. Two-part conversation this morning, talking about the strong leaderships and how that translates into the small business environment. Also, later in the conversation, talking about business insurance, because that's, with so many small businesses out there, and more importantly, Aaron, with so many entrepreneurs or those that are out there with something jotted down on a napkin, uh, that are ready to start out one of these days. It's crucial for them to have information that helps them what lead, and as well have the right to policy in place, and have taken the best steps. Is that a fair question? Or
Yeah, I think yeah, it's really just kind of understanding all the different elements to be successful in business. If we look at businesses in general, I think the statistics are is that 80% of new businesses are around after a year, and unfortunately in Michigan, and only about 50% are around after 5 years.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of elements in that goes into that, right? Demographics, what are you selling? What's the market? What is your cash flow? What are you bringing to the table? But there's other elements that can take you out. If you had a literally a some kind of insurance thing that you were not properly insured for with your business, and
Mhm.
and confirming that, that is one of the elements that can take a small business out, because not being able to literally afford, to pay out of pocket for a loss that happens from their business that they're not properly covered for.
Mhm.
So part of being a good leader and understanding that is knowing what you don't know and
Yeah.
putting good people around you in that space in small business that are going to help you, whether that's an accountant, attorney, insurance person, people that are consultants directly to your industry that you find out about, that have been, a lot of experience. So there's a lot of 50, 60, 70-year-old men and women in different industries that are consultants that you should really reach out to and find out who those people are, that would not be too expensive for you to help you, or even if you're challenged in your current small business. Being a good leader is really is being humble and having humility that it's not quite working like I thought. I
Mhm.
need to get some assistance and clean some things up. Or, better yet, is before you start, like you were mentioning with these entrepreneurs, is
Mhm.
really, really, even though you have experience in this industry or business that you want to go into, and you mostly know how to do it or what to do, there's a difference between working in the business versus working on the business.
Mhm.
And if we're being a good leader, working on the business is really an element of about putting the right pieces in places, and people and your assets to work for you to help you be, to grow in revenue and to grow in profit quickly but sustainably. So it's a complicated, thing to do when you're trying to do a small business, and as you know, Chris, trying to keep it going, and
Mhm.
there's so many things to do, and there's very little free time in your brain to not be thinking about something with your business for sure.
A Absolutely. And it's very true. And we were talking about this a few moments ago about some of the stats that are out there, and it is the lifeblood of keeping the economy going, people's livelihoods, being able to put food on the table, and we just had back to school time, and purchasing all those back to school supplies that have gone up, and holidays are right around the corner. But was looking at some of this, and small businesses right here in Michigan employ nearly 2 million people. That's about 45% of the workforce out there. And that's a pretty huge impact. And so you've got to be able to put the right resources in front of you. And you're right. You mentioned this a moment ago. Is that you also have to reach out to those resources so that you're not putting another hat on your head and trying to carry the burden of that workload, right?
Yeah, I think another great book that comes to mind for me, besides going from good to great, is a book that maybe people are familiar with called E Myth.
Mhm.
And they have this author has created different industry related e-myth books, like e-myth contractor, for example. And the premise really of the book is understanding and knowing in your industry, um, especially people oriented, and it's going to be besides you at some point as the leader business owner, is what are the most logical things to add to your business, typically focused on people. For example, if you wear every hat as the business owner, what is going to help you next in positions, whether that would be bookkeeping, or that would be a salesperson, or that would be an office administrator, you know, literally trying to lay out a flow chart and then setting revenue and profit targets before and knowing when you can hire this next person.
Mm,
So let's say that your first year you did $50,000 in sales, and you say, well, I know based on expenses of having even a part-time person, it's going to be 35 or 40,000. I've got to hit 150,000 in revenue before I get a part-time person to work for me. I'm
mhm.
just giving you kind of a
Yep,
hypothetical.
yep,
Once you hit that number, what E-Myth, this book called E-Myth does is says, okay, it's now time to hire that person, and that will give you momentum into the next level of growth. So if you don't lay out as a small business owner and being a good leader and laying out what are our goals, what are we going to try to hit, and what are we doing over the next 3 months, 6 months, a year, or 2 years, what does that more than likely are we trying to shoot for and go and recast that so people know what we're trying to do and who we're trying to hire next and win that next benchmark. Once we hit that benchmark, we're going to go and get this person and we're going to recruit this person and put it on our job board and have that person help join us in our effort to grow the business.
yeah, and that key word is grow. From I've looked at it even myself as bringing staff members on to maintain where we are at,
Hmm.
but that creates a plateau rather than growth. And so when you hire somebody on, the goal is how much can that person help the company grow
Hmm.
more, and I think that's so important.
Well, and
If
I use an Erin Doanism like a tree in the forest. We're either growing or we're dying, man.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's really hard to stay at the same. Like,
No.
okay, we've hit 150,000 revenue. Yes, we've made it. Whoa,
Mm,
whoa, whoa, hold on. If we're not trying to grow and continue to grow, you're going to go backwards. And
mhm.
it just is just it's human nature. It's in every organization, every team that that you have to really work hard and focus on always being growth mindset for sure.
Good point there. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance. Let's kind of adapt from, we talked a little bit about leadership, those roles that somebody can take on and help them with being an entrepreneur, better within their small business environment to help the company grow. Be able to, we see that people branch out on their own, as mentioned, but in any case, so that they don't have, a complete fail if something happens. And you were starting to allude on this just a few minutes ago, that insurance is a big part of that. And having the right policy and put the right points in place. There are, let's see, based on the notes that I have, one, two, three, four, five, six particular insurance types that we want to go over. And let's start with general liability insurance right at the top.
Yeah, and I want to just clarify with people that these are coverages that most of them are bundled together, and you have options with each of these six categories. So, in terms of what your needs are, my experience in the business insurance world is that there's many, many policies that are 5, 10, 15 years or older that have not been updated with the growth.
Hmm,
So, as the company grows and they have more assets, more people, more revenue, the exposure to losses increases. So liability would be if through your business, somebody, typically the biggest one is somebody else gets hurt
hmm,
from your business. And It's outside of your business. And so what you're doing in that space, for example, you're a contractor, is, that let's say a person visits your job site and gets hurt because of your negligence. You want to make sure you have a lot of, good liability coverage. And I would say that most businesses in our area need to start at least at $1 million per occurrence, and which in the business world, $2 million aggregate, meaning in that business policy year, if two things happen, you'd have $2 million of liability protection in case that person, by unfortunately an accident, but your negligence, you get sued and you lose in a lawsuit, your insurance is going to pay for it and not you. I talk about many times with people is building your insurance wall to get above your assets and your income and the revenue of your business to make sure that you're protected, and that State Farm is going to have to provide the money because you have the right insurance if you lose in a lawsuit.
A good point there. That general liability, you have property insurance that follows. Take us through that.
So property insurance is really buildings and equipment, and just your inventory that you have in your business. So you want to make sure this is updated. Again, as we've talked about today, just even recently, is this growth mindset. If we're as good leaders trying to grow our companies and get great people to work for us and really lead the charge and the team to grow, as each year goes by and your growth happens and you have more inventory, you just bought another laser cutter, you just bought another expensive, dishwasher. We could go on and on for every different kind of industry, but what happens in my experience again is these two or three or five things happen, and maybe as the business is growing, is you're adding these things each year that goes by, but not really verifying and confirming that the equipment coverage on your policy is still accurate. And the building coverage, um, just most buildings right now are going to take at least $300 a square foot to rebuild, unless it's a really basic pole barn that's not insulated. If you
Mhm,
have some type of retail or office related building, it's going to be at least $300 a square foot to rebuild that building. And how are you looking? That's the question.
mhm,
So as we're now into the fall, and the crazy wild summer season is over with all of our wonderful seasonal
mhm.
and visitors from all over the world most of them have gone, right? Color season isn't quite here for the leaves yet.
Yeah.
Look at your building coverage. So you own the building, right? And you're a business owner. uh, is it at least $300 a square foot? So know your square footage of your building and do the math. And if it's not, it needs to be bumped.
Mm.
And if you'd like to have State Farm give us a quote, call my office, Erin Doan on US 10, my State Farm agency, and we'd love to give you a quote.
You have a few more categories that we want to highlight on. There's the business interruption insurance that is out there, as well as the professional liability insurance. Take us through those two, if you don't mind.
So if you have, let's say, a power surge or a lightning strike or even an interruption from a fire, water, smoke, damage, and it's a covered loss. So this thing happens where, you have a frozen pipe. It's never froze before. We hit all-time records this winter, and it literally does not allow you to reopen the business. What happens is you just need to show what your common sales in revenue were for that period of time. And what State Farm does in that coverage is give you money as though you were open. So besides the money to get you dried out, right, to hire a company to do the dry out, and then sometimes it's that same company or it could be a different company, is to do the reconstruction. And then really what we're dealing with here in business interruption coverage is money like you were literally having revenue, but you have to have proof, right? So either from, 941s or your, 1040s, it could be recent sales, profit and loss statements, your balance sheet, different financial statements would have to be provided, and then State Farm is paying a claim based on your revenue that you're missing out on because of this covered loss.
Okay. And same sort of idea, the professional liability insurance, that kind of dovetails into that as well.
Yeah, it does, and it kind of goes back into other liability. Like if you're a professional, an attorney, a dentist, a doctor, insurance agent, financial services provider, you're going to have an errors and omissions policy, that's in place. But here's one that I see that many rural uh, boards, nonprofits don't have is what we call directors. Okay, so this could be maybe you're a business owner and you're on a board. This could also be professional liability, coverage that comes through directors and officers coverage.
Mm,
So, yes, you need professional liability coverage, but I also think that one of the biggest areas in the business kind of organization world that I see is very few organizations have directors and officers errors and omissions. So if you're a director on the board and something bad and somebody gets hurt or gets affected financially and they sue the board, you could have liability, just trying to be on this board to help this organization, and you could have some exposure personally by
mhm.
not having a directors and officers uh, liability in place for you being on that board. So I would highly recommend in exploring that if you're listening in today.
Good point there. If you're just joining us, Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance joining us this morning. We're talking about small business insurance. And one of the common ones that people recognize is workers' comp, workers' compensation insurance, and then you have commercial auto insurance as well. And obviously, just that in itself kind of describes it. But workers' comp and the last one, the commercial auto insurance. Let's touch on that before we get closer to wrapping up today.
Sounds great. The workers' comp is something to just understand that that's going to be a dollar amount for you getting hurt if you're an employee working for your company. And so employers and business owners are required to have workers' comp for, employees that are trading, hours for dollars, whether that's salary or hourly, is we're required in the state of Michigan to have workers' comp. So State Farm provides a really nice workers' comp policy, very competitive. But what that's doing is it's providing money to pay for you if you do get hurt on the job, that's covering you. So I just also want to kind of pull out and peel that apart just a real brief moment. That's different than your coverage in medical from auto insurance getting hurt, and that is different if you get hurt anywhere else.
Hmm.
So with small businesses, Chris, most people don't have short or long-term disability insurance that they own. So we've done a lot of short-term disability, especially for a 3-year policy, where again, we're talking about small businesses today. These employees don't have that coverage. At that point, the employer can't provide that benefit, so you have to buy it yourself. So if you don't have, if you have workers' comp at work, that's great. But if you get hurt off, climbing a tree because you're deer hunting in October,
Hmm.
or you fall off a kayak and hit your head on the dock, these are things where you might miss work. You could miss 3 to 6 months of work or more, and just realize that workers' comp's not going to pay for that, and your medical from your auto insurance is going to pay for that. How do you get money for income? Well, you get money for income by having your own short-term disability policy outside of workers' comp.
Hmm.
So, a couple of key points here again. Workers' comp is for, employees that are working and getting hurt while you're working. But if you're concerned about providing income for your family and you get hurt because you're active, you're hiking, you're doing a lot of fun things, and you get hurt and can't work for 3 to 6 months or more, what happens? And there's a place that we could help you economically. So on commercial auto, I'll dive right into it.
Oh
So
yeah,
we
yeah.
we provide commercial auto insurance. This is for businesses, but it can also be just we do flatbed trucks, box trucks, all sorts of different fleet insurance at State Farm. So this is insurance that when the business owns that policy, it can still be what's called a business use. when we're thinking about commercial auto, we're thinking about oftentimes bigger vehicles, bigger trucks that we can insure at State Farm, and it has its own commercial auto insurance compared to personal lines auto, which is a different division for State Farm. So, having that kind of insurance and knowing that a company like State Farm can not only provide your business insurance, it can also provide your workers' comp insurance, and we can help you with your commercial auto insurance for your fleet. So
Mhm.
just kind of be aware of that. I don't know that all small businesses owners are aware of that,
Yeah.
that we have those abilities and capabilities with our policies to be able to help you pretty deep and wide to take care of all of your risks in the property and casualty area.
And to give that small business owner, that entrepreneur, that's wanting to explore that. Uh, do you feel like those initial conversations are confusing? Are they? Is there a roadmap that you're able to kind of guide them down?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I like to do is I really like to just find out where they're at and what they do know. I think one of the important things that's important when I'm dealing with people is, everybody's experience and understanding of things is really wide ranging. And it's not always age based. It could be a young person is really sharp and has done a lot of homework for several months in depth and talked to a lot of different people about insurance and everything else in business. So I think what's really important for me is just to know where they're at and what do they understand, and then just know the risks of everyday life. If there's nothing that you take away from our session, if you've listened to quite a bit of this today, is know that my biggest job, what is my title? My title is a risk advisor.
Hmm.
So I am advising you on the risks and I'm trying to protect you from catastrophic.
Mhm.
Many consumers and people think probability. The odds of this happening to me are slim to none.
Mhm.
And I always say, well, if it does happen to you, would you consider that catastrophic?
Hmm.
Let me give you some examples. Let me try not to overwhelm you, but let me help you understand and get the coverage that makes the most sense without overinsuring you and without having you pay too much. Let's fit your budget, but make sure that catastrophically, if you have something bad for liability, property loss, workers' comp, that we're really making sure that you have the right coverage and stay with you. Every year, let's take a look at it, make sure you have the right coverage and get out of what you don't need and really encourage you to get into what you need so that your risks are protected. And once we can protect risks, then we can advise you in the financial services. So protect first and then invest. And because I'm a registered investment advisor, I have the ability in this space to do both. Protect your
Mhm.
risks of everyday life and then to help you reach your dreams and goals for your financial future.
Hmm. It's a good roadmap. Aaron, did we miss anything before we wrap up today? And of course, how they can reach out to you too.
I think this the biggest thing is know the strong leadership in small businesses come through understanding what your risks are and what you're trying to do. And I would love to be a partner with you in this space. I think at this point in my career, I don't have all the answers, but I've been through a few things. We have about 600 claims a year just through my office. So I got a perspective of what that frustration, pain, or appreciation and thankfulness of having the coverage and getting the money that people need to help them recover. So I would love you for you to reach out. I'm the State Farm agent on US 10 we're right in the dead center between Ludington and Scottville, a half a mile east of Meyer. In Ludington, we service literally not only Mason County, but the entire state of Michigan. So if you're listening from wherever you live in Michigan, we can help you and provide you quotes and provide you really good coverage with me and my 5 full-time staff. My phone number is 231-757 3115, or you can find us on the web at ludingtoninsurance.com. That's ludingtoninsurance.com.
All right, sounds great. Aaron, thank you for the conversation today. And for everybody out there, we just scratched the surface on these topics, and reaching out to Aaron and his team would be a good next step. So make sure you do that. Erin, thanks for the conversation today.
Well, thanks for having me, Chris. Have a great day.
You too. It is 102.7 Mom FM and Hot Country